Let's close with the final part of that three-part question, which is your view on foreigners coming into Malaysia and how they can do better and be effective in the country.
The most important part here is that the foreigners have to understand the culture. They have to adapt to the culture itself. Coming to work in Malaysia, we have a rich mix of ethnicities as well as culture, where we have Malay, Chinese, Indian, and other ethnicities. It's also good to understand the local customs, language, and communication styles. I would say foreigners have to make an effort to learn about Malaysia's cultural norms, be a little bit more respectful to them. And it's also important to build relationships. A lot of times the businesses is often built on relationships. Taking the time to engage with local colleagues, understand their work ethic, and building trust is definitely very crucial. Foreigners can benefit from taking a more patient, relationship driven approach to business rather than being too direct or bringing in their own cultures into the country to some extent. And when it comes to the communication styles, we can sometimes be a little bit indirect compared to some foreigners might be used to, especially when it comes to addressing disagreements. At times, we don't take things head on and we can address it in a very indirect way. Understanding these subtleties, adapting to the communication style can actually help to prevent misunderstanding and improve collaboration.
That's a very good point. I want to touch on briefly on what you said earlier about building relationships. So in different countries and cultures in Asia, you build relationships differently. Now, sometimes this is related to going out in the evening, making deals during lunch or during dinners. How do you build effective relationships in Malaysia? What are the environments where relationships are built?
Well, sometimes this skill set varies from people to people. But I would guess that in order to be very successful in building relationships, one has to be very genuine. You have to be very sincere when it comes to communication. Sometimes people tend to forget that they have to have the openness and sincerity when it comes to communication. There are times when people become too formal. The relationship would have a certain limitation that you can actually achieve. So in my practice, we try to be very sincere, be very open, and try to listen a little bit more rather than trying to drive things through when relationship is actually both ways. It's not just only one way. Taking a little bit more effort to understand the person a little bit better, or rather their preferences, would add a little bit more mileage to it.
That's a very good and important point that you're making, that in order to achieve your business goals, you sometimes need to take a step back and focus on people, on building trust. And I love what you said about sincerity. One of the most important traits, I believe, in Asia is to build sincerity and through that trust with our partners.